The estate is yours.
Faced with adversity,
Everything I've ever had has been taken from me.
will love prevail?
Do you love him?
I think very highly of him.
I will not marry for fortune. I want to marry for love.
So I think I had a little window at Hallmark where I was trying to figure out the strategy for mahogany when they announced that the mahogany initiative was going to come to fruition. And so I had a little window where I was able to visualize in my wildest dreams what I want to create. And within that window, I brought Sense Sensibility to the fore, and I put it into development, got a script. But I felt that this was the perfect project that, one, everyone loves Jane Austen. Two, Hallmark being where love happens. This would be safe. It would be familiar. It would be disruptive. And it would be noisy. And I thought, what a way to... At first, I thought it was going to be the film that introduced the Mahogany Initiative, but we ended up doing something else that was equally as amazing. I was like, okay, if I could pull together the ingredients of what I think this initiative would represent, reimagining a Jane Austen classic was the perfect solution for me.
Well, I got the phone call after doing another Hallmark movie, and I'd known about Toni wanting to do this, and her entrusting me was an honor. So for me, it was about making sure that it was authentic, making sure that the tones of love that Austen brings, we brought that out, and that it would be exciting to see a person of color actually have these tones of being vulnerable, of being strong. And, you know, that voice is needed, that visual and that representation is needed. So we went into production, and this is the A-team, and we brought it together. We're talking about, in 15 days, shooting over 97 scenes. Yeah. Costume changes that started off to be 25. Miss Karasan delivered 68. Shooting in Bulgaria and in Ireland as a beautiful backdrop. Working with our incredible historian extraordinaire, Vanessa Riley, just to make sure that we were accurate in everything that we were doing. Kim Kimball bringing the hair and creatively making us authentic, but also, again, having liberties with her creativity. And then, of course, Deborah.
Well, I went full nerd, and they allowed me to be full nerd for them. So we talked about mannerisms. We talked about the ways colors were used in order to reinforce class. We talked about hairstyles. We talked about fashion silhouettes. And then just some of the economies of scale, like the differences of living in a grandeur at Norland Park than to be reduced circumstances. So making everything feel as real as possible, So we looked at, the sets were immaculate sets. They actually built a pianoforte just for some seats.
It's funny because I feel like she's so constrained, but Eleanor's so relatable. I feel like a lot of women walk around constrained and just wanting to breathe, wanting to exhale, wanting to just, give themselves to love, wanting to be free of all the things that are put on us from day to day to day to day. And so for me, it kind of, when I got into it, it made sense. I had the mindset at first, like, I can't do this, because obviously I don't see people who look like me doing, roles like this, unfortunately. But as I read it and talked about it with my team, I was like, wait a minute, why not? They thought, Toni thought, why not? Why can't I, do something like this? And so when I got into it, I was like, this makes perfect sense. Everything that Eleanor was going through, I could relate to. It made perfect sense, So yeah, it felt right. And I love the fact that people, little girls who look like me, can see themselves, can feel like, why not? You know what I mean? Let me tell you something right now. Literally, because for every project I do, I make sure at the very least that I find out who is on hair, who is on makeup. And if I find out costumes as well, I will, but hair, makeup, because obviously we've gone underserved. People who look like me have gone underserved in the industry for far too long. And when they said Kim Kimball, that was part of the reason why I was like, oh, I'm there, done. To be able to just focus on my job and not worry about things that are not my job, you know, like it should be. I should be able to just focus on my role and show up. That for me just felt like, okay, this is how it's supposed to be, you know, and hopefully this becomes the norm, is having more people who just can let actors relax and just do their job. So, yeah.
And how much hair did you do?
A lot.
How many heads passed through your hair?
Well, there was a person, a large cast of women too, but I had a great team to help me on this. But because everything was wigs, when they told me, because first of all, this is my first movie, Hallmark Mahogany movie I've done. And when they told me we're going to shoot this in 15 days, I've never worked on a film that was 15 days. So I knew exactly what that meant. That means it's going to be a lot of changes within a day, not a lot of time to create, but I wanted the hairstyles to be elaborate and to really look the period and, you know, to have texture like, you know, like our hair has, but make it really pretty and romantic. So I made a lot of wigs. So I was like a wig factory and hairpiece factory back making, you know, doing a lot of hair pieces so that we can make these changes quick, because we had take them from, you know, when they had money to when they didn't have money, really telling a story with the hair, you know. That's part of, you know, like with the clothes and everything, that tells a story as well. And then we have a ball that we're going to. So of course I want to take it there for the ball. I wanted, you know, I wanted to do. So I knew, you know, we didn't have a lot of time to do it. It is so funny. I know we tried different systems, and, you know, wardrobe first, then hair, then, you know, makeup. And then some days it was hair first, then makeup. But I knew I wanted to have hair pieces, so it was a lot of hair pieces. I know we had trunks and trunks of hair and wigs, you know, because not only do the main cast have to look good, but you know, we have background, you know, you don't want the background walking around with normal hair and then you've got the servants, you know, there's so many, you know, things to think about. So, you know, we had trunks and trunks of wigs.
And we literally met on Zoom, literally met on Zoom like once, and the next time we saw each other, we did a test and it was like showtime. So like the fact that you nailed it, like, you know what I mean? Like it was just nuts. Like it was nuts. It was nuts.
I don't know if you remember this, but I so wanted Kim on the project. A lot of times, you know, I was very concerned that when I got Kara-san on the phone that she wasn't going to take the job. I was really concerned. I don't know if I ever told you. But she was so open and she was so open to it. And I'm always kind of worried about, you know, we do what we can at Hallmark, you know, this, you know. But I wanted Kim on the project so bad that I came to her place of business under the pretense of wanting to get my hair done.
It all comes out. Sneak attack.
I really want to get her hair done.
By the way,
you
ever been to Bulgaria? What do you think about Bulgaria?
It was a little bait switch, but I was like, I really wanted to land these two creatives on this dedication that meant everything.
Started out, we were going to do 25 pieces, and then when we got there, you know, there's only one place to get Regency era clothes, and that's in London. And so we had already done all the shopping, we got all the clothes to Bulgaria, and then guess what? They didn't all work out. You can't take a flight back to London. And so then someone had told me that, you know, this one place that they get the Regency clothes from, every Regency film has the same clothes. And then I was like, oh no, well, no. And we really wanted to look unique and different and really fit what we were doing. So I'm like, you know what? You know, it went from, hey, can you do this in 2 days, to, hey, can you do this in 1 day, to, hey, I need this by 3 o'clock tonight. and so, no, as a costume designer, no, you don't sew. But I'm like, we're doing this film. And it's going to have all the details, and we're going to make it happen. I only had 4 tailors. And I tell you, me and 4 tailors did 68 pieces in 20 days. I don't know. We did. Like, I didn't sleep. They had to sleep, but I didn't sleep. But it was so great because a lot of days we would show up and I would be sewing the talon into the dresses right before the scene. Like that's how, and it's just so the fit had to be in a certain way.
It was perfect.
The fit, thank you.
Yeah.
And usually my process is I do a doodle, I get an illustration, then we do a mock-up in muslin, then we do we went straight from here's my doodle, here. I need you to make this. No fitting, no muslin, nothing. Just straight from my doodle, straight to this machine, and on the next day.
That is hardcore.
When you go back and you take a look, it's the beautiful actors in wonderful costume and hair. Then take a look at the tablescapes. Then look at the background portraits. Everything is telling the same story, and it's so beautiful. Super easy.
And it's those layers of authenticity, you know, the richness of the colors that represent the richness of the mahogany brand, right? The fact that Vanessa made sure that in the background are real people of African descent, people in history, you know, doing an adaptation of a popular song, making sure, you know, one of the things that Kim brought up, and I was like, oh, there was a relaxer back then. There was no pressing comb. So how do we treat hair in a way that comes off elegant, but authentic, and authentic to the period? There were so many little things. I was telling Vanessa this when I looked at the first cut. There's a scene where Willoughby and Marianne ask each other who their favorite poet is, and they both blurt out Phyllis Wheatley. And I'm like, damn. It's like that's that level, those little, every little piece that in the aggregate is just ingested as authenticity. And you know, the mainstream audience will watch it and go, I really liked what they did with that. But Black women will watch it and everyone will be like, oh no, not Phyllis Wheatley.
Because I actually didn't know that change was made.
Yes.
And when I watched it, because I obviously received a screener, I saw that first, I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's I don't know.
Phyllis Wheatley's poetry was originally published in London. That was the only place she could get her poems done. So to bring it home into this era that Jane Austen, everybody was reading Phyllis during that time frame, it just makes it perfect.
And that's what it goes back to. Why not? Why can't I be in this story? Because actually, if we're talking about it being historically accurate, it is. You know what I mean? And that's what I learned so much from you, and that's what was so special about this. It's like, why can't I do this?
I love the fact that everyone wants the historical accuracy, but we also leave room for fantasy.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful piece. I'm so proud of everybody here and working with everybody. Sense Sensibility is amazing.